Hi guys, I'm Elisa and welcome to episode 2 on Fjordur. I started by making a trap because I wanted to tame a trike and there was no way I was going to be doing that on foot. So I built this quick little trap and got to sink him some arrows into a fairly decent level trike. I lured it into the trap and at first I thought I was just going to stand here and trank it out until in the background there I saw its friend was also on the way. So I ran up the hill and tranked it out from there instead. After she was tamed, took her out for a little bit of a stroll to get some levels on her and see what she could do. I got this rune because it's obviously going to help with the levels, and at the moment she is going to be a main mount until we can get something a little bit faster and a little bit stronger. But as it stands at the moment, her knockback is fantastic. On my little discovery session, I found a whole heap of beaver dams, which I'm definitely taking note of, and I named the trike Trixie. Now that I've got a couple of tames that I can't put in the house, I need somewhere safe for them. So I started making a little pen around the house, just so I can put some walls up and keep them safe from any roaming predators. I started by putting down these fence foundations. And next I put up a whole heap of walls to try and block the space off. Unfortunately, the Bronto's been walking around, and turns out that even 2 walls high Brontos can walk over top of. So it took a little while before I could keep the Bronto out. But in theory as well, if the Bronto can get in, then other big things such as Rexes or the like can get in. I haven't seen any Rexes down here as of yet, but that does not mean that they won't be here at any point. So I do kind of need to make sure that this pen is as big predator proof as possible, as well as smaller predators. I just went a little way into the water to start with because most things aren't going to go into the water to get to us. I will remedy this at a later date, but it is what it is for now. I also made a raft and got to building it up a little bit. I was using a lot of stone and I was getting really sick of having to collect it, so I wanted to go get a Doedicurus or an Anki. Most likely an Anki because the Anki doesn't just do stone. It may not be the most efficient stone collector, but it's still a heck of a lot better than just running around with my hatchet, which is the main thing I'm looking for at this point in time. I wanted to make this raft into a trap itself. It went through a couple of different iterations, as all my builds do, because I had to work out the most efficient way to do it, and to start with I couldn't put the ramps where I wanted to, so this back wall had to be lower than I initially anticipated, but that's okay. I can work with that and I can continue to build it up. On a resource run to get yet more stone, I found this stupidly cute Lystrosaurus and I had to tame it. I couldn't not. It was too cute. So I tamed that and got back into building the raft. So the theory is that I'm going to take the raft over to Lava Island and then use the raft to lure an Anki in to tame it, as well as anything else I might see there. I kind of want a mount that would be faster than the trike as well. As good as the trike is to have, it is painfully slow. I got a smithy down so that I can repair tools in here. Got a bed, some storage boxes, and a mortar and pestle. Then headed on my way across to Lava Island. I stopped here and saw this lone Allosaurus and thought it would be a good idea to try and tame it. This trap is not built for something as big as an Allosaurus, but I thought it would be fine, and you'll see how well that went. I got stuck on the railing there and I couldn't move. So the Allo took me out rather easily. I was a little bit disappointed, but looking back at it, it's actually kind of funny. It was my own bad and I shouldn't have trusted so much in my abilities. Right back at spawning. Somehow, there's also now a basilisk on the raft. So things are going fantastically well for me right now. I wanted to try and lure the Allo and the basilisk away from the raft. I knew at this point that I was going to die again. There was no really getting away around it. I was okay with that. I just wanted them away. Started driving around to try and see what was going on, and I realized that the basilisk was still there. Wasn't exactly what I intended to happen, but it is what it is. Also turned out that the basilisk was glitched.
I got my stuff back.
It didn't like being there at all, and I couldn't make it move. No idea why, it just glitched out.
Come on.
And I also managed to spot a couple of different Ankies. So I had a go at taming the first one. Tried to get its attention and missed the first couple of shots. Because I'm great like that. And unfortunately, right as I was getting its attention, it also got the attention of this thorny dragon. So we had to fight that off as well. I also hadn't realised at this point that the ramp doesn't quite meet the ground. So for smaller creatures like Yankee, I need to find higher ground to park at. This Yankee couldn't get into the trap as much as I wanted it to. So unfortunately, it's going to have to do it safari style anyway. Put the railings up here to try and stop things being able to get to me while they're in the trap. It also stopped me being able to get to things in the trap. Didn't quite think it through well enough, but I worked it out in the end. Had enough arrows in the Anki to get it tranked out, or at least torpor running. Had to add a couple more to get it tranked out, and I thought it was going to be safe here until it started sliding down the bank. And unfortunately, its oxygen was dropping. So this was a lost cause, and I decided to try for the other one that we'd seen here. Managed to get its attention and start to lure it back into the trap, and I'd been able to drive the raft up to the set of rocks and get its attention. So it could easily get it this time. No problems with it not being able to reach the ramp. With the railing as it was, I had to do the old jump and shoot. The railing was really in the way. I was going to have to fix this. But I also didn't want the Anki to be able to get back out again when it started torpor running. So I had to move the raft just so that the stone wasn't there working as a ramp itself. Once I was just out in the bay a little bit, started adding some arrows into the Anki to get it torpored out. Finally, the Anki was unconscious and ready to be tamed. On the way home, I managed to find some crystals so I could make some soul balls, so I can get things cryoed up that I need to get cryoed up. The Anki tamed almost immediately after I got the soul balls crafted as well. And not long after getting the Anki in soul ball, we had a raptor jump in. So that was kind of lucky, because otherwise it would have tanked the taming effectiveness, and it was a really high level to start with, so that would have sucked. Unfortunately, however, the glitched out basilisk also meant that the raptor glitched out, and I was unable to get into its inventory no matter what I tried. So I repaired the raft back to its previous state, went home and got the Anki out to get some stone and some metal. And called it Anakin, because lava? I also made an awesome spyglass, and kind of just to test how good this thing is. I've used it previously, but never in recordings. So just to give it a go, I decided to tame the closest thing, which happened to be that dilo. I then went out and tamed the tech parasaurs that have been hanging around, both level 74. So almost max level. I'm definitely not going to complain about such a high level. I then added the last few touches to this section of the little pen to keep the tame safe, then continued work on the next story of the base. Eventually got to the point where we had the second story complete. This moss chops had just been wandering around, so we brought him in and called him Mason and decided to take Trixie out for a bit of a walk. I was getting over how slow Trixie was, so I wanted a faster mount. I was looking for raptors, I was looking for anything along those lines. But what I really wanted was an Andrewsarcus. We found this iguanodon and I decided to tame it because they're ridiculously good for getting seeds. It's not what I came out here for, but it's a 145 and I'm not going to complain. I'm also not going to pass up the opportunity. Found this level 90 raptor, and it's, I mean, 90 is not the best level, but it's also not the worst. And up until this point, the highest raptor I'd seen was like 25, other than the one that we had to kill to get out of the raft. So I tamed this one up for a faster mount if we needed it. Came across another level 90 raptor, which I wasn't going to pass up another raptor. I tamed that one, and its friend kind of didn't want anything to do with me to start with. But once it came around, I realised it was a 145, so it was definitely getting tamed. I did have to knock it back a bit, and Trixie had to take the brunt of its attacks so that I could knock it out, but she is a tank. She handled it like an absolute champ. Hung around long enough for the raptors to tame, and once they were tamed, I made a saddle and cryoed up the lower level raptor and Trixie and hopped onto the higher level so that I had a little bit more speed, because there was no way I was outrunning anything on Trixie. I set the raptor up a little bit away from where I was going to be taming so that I'd be able to render and it would be safe, and started working on taming up an Andrewsarcus. I'd finally made my way to the opposite side of the island to find the Andrewsarcus. It took like 3 days, in-game days, but we got there. And this level 60 was going to do us nicely, as far as I was concerned. I don't know what was going on with me this day, but my reaction time was way too slow to be doing this. And the Andrewsarcus made it pretty dang clear what he thought of that. He was none too happy with how long it was taking me to react to his responses, and he let me know it.
That is not good.
And I realised that I had crafted the sleeping bags and not put them down. So I had to spawn back at base and bring the raft back over. But that was okay. I was able to get my stuff and at least put down sleeping bags this time. A group of magically adhering humpies decided that they wanted a piece of me, but thankfully with the spear they were relatively easy to deal with. And then there was a patchy rhinoceros that didn't know what it meant to go forwards. This is genuinely the first time I've ever seen a dino in Ark do this. I got back to the Andrew that I had been taming, but that taming bar took no time at all to go down. I was also way too slow to get to its side to hit the ride button, and it was not very happy. But somehow I managed to get away from it this time. I don't know whether it fell down the bank or what, but I got away and it wasn't angry with me anymore. So I managed to get back on it, but I had lost all the taming that I had done before. It was completely gone, so I was starting from scratch. And my nerves were kind of shoddy and my reaction time was even worse than before. So this went about as well as you would think it would, considering those things. Threw out some honey, hoping that it would take the bait, but apparently when they're angry they don't like honey anymore, unfortunately. And I also realised I was running directly for my raft, which I really didn't mean to do, so I had to change track, and that meant that the Andrew was able to get me again, and there was no way I was going to outrun it that time. So yet another death on the counter for this season. I then spawned in and a seagull was in my raft. Somehow, for some reason. So yeah, that was the thing. I'd also brought the raptor over here earlier to get it out of potential harm's way. It was kind of lucky because it made short work of that particular seagull. The second seagull I struggled with. However, for some reason, I have no idea why, but eventually it left me alone anyway. So that was the one. Seagull had stolen my honey, so I now had to go and find some more. But at least my bag was right there and I did have some honey on my person. only for the seagull to steal the first one that I tried to put down, which was exactly what I wanted. It was exactly the person that I intended to receive that. The taming effectiveness had plummeted yet again, and I was not having a good go with this. I also should have probably not tried to tame this thing so close to my raft. Didn't quite go the way that I wanted it to, and I didn't really mean to lead it straight to the raft, but it's kind of just what happened. Decided to lure it out. I couldn't leave it there, it was going to destroy my raft and everything on it. So I sacrificed myself for the betterment of everything on board and ran as fast as I possibly could. It was starting to get to the point where this was really frustrating. But I hadn't thought about the fact that the raptor could get out, and it took me a second to realise, but the raptor was fighting the Andrewsarcus. I had to get it away, but it also kind of meant it kind of wasn't worth taming this Andrew anymore. So I had to go down a different track. I cried up the raptor so that didn't happen again and went off to find a different Andrew to tame. I knew it was pretty slim chance that if I was struggling with a level 60, what were the chances of getting a 140? But I also wasn't going to pass up the opportunity of potentially getting a level 140. I had to at least give it a go, even with the microraptor trying to ruin my day. You also kind of forgot that Andrews are really good swimmers. And I thought running to the water would make me safe. I was not very correct in that assessment. Finally, just desperate for any Andrewsarcus, I decided to try and tame a lower level. And by lower level, I mean a level 15. Because at least, what can go wrong with a level 15? I was so close to having that tamed, and I was so disappointed when it didn't work the first time. But at least I was really close to having that tamed. managed to lose the footage of actually getting this Andrew tamed, but I did manage to get level 15 tamed. It took no extra time at all. On the way back, this Microraptor decided to try and ruin our day, and it very nearly did. Andrew preoccupied with the turtle, the Microraptor was left to do its thing, and this had to be one of the most frustrating bits of this day. It was incredibly frustrating. But not only that, I was really concerned that the Andrew was going to die right after I'd tamed it. But it didn't. And it also had pretty much all its health left, which was great. Even for a level 15, apparently they've got a fairly decent health pool. So I got her back, got her cryoed up, popped her on the raft, saw this dead megalodon just floating in the water on the way, so I figured I may as well harvest it. It's free resources after all. I didn't realise to start with that it was an alpha, even when I got the stuff off its body. It wasn't until afterwards, when I was putting everything away, that I realised it was an alpha, and I was pretty glad. I then also noticed as I was driving past, the level 140 was still there, and it still had its taming. Figured I had to try. It's a level 140. If I die a couple of times, I die a couple of times. I had to at least give it a go. Otherwise, I would end up kicking myself. I didn't want to lead it back to the raft, but I wanted it to stay here. There was nothing here to aggro it, really. I wanted it to stay. So I kind of just stood there and let it kill me. I then spawned back, got straight back to it. Didn't even bother collecting my stuff. And after all of that, I had a decent level Andrewsarcus tamed. I was so excited. And not only that, I had a mate pair of Andrewsarcus. It didn't matter that the female was so low level because this one was so great. I got it cryoed up and made my way back home. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe, like the video and share around if you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.